Hello and welcome back to God in Our Experience, spiritual readings from the book of Matthew to encounter the living presence of Jesus Christ for ourselves. We finished with the initiation phase of the book of Matthew and of our spiritual readings, and now we're going to move on to the Sermon on the Mount. The Sermon on the Mount is the first of the 5 major teaching sections in the book of Matthew, and it's also Jesus' most famous sermon. Since the days of the earliest Christians, the Sermon on the Mount has been our highest standard for what it means to think, pray, act, and live like a disciple of Jesus Christ. So may we, reading it today, be brave enough to hear the Sermon on the Mount with fresh ears, to face its challenges, and to receive its blessings. By our performance of its words, may we be worthy of the one who first spoke and lived them. The Sermon on the Mount begins with the Beatitudes, Matthew chapter 5, 1 through 12. When Jesus saw the crowds, he went up the mountain, and after he sat down, his disciples came to him. Then he began to speak and taught them, saying, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will receive mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when people revile you and persecute you and utter all kinds of evil against you falsely on my account. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward is great in heaven, for in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you." The salvation of the world does not begin with the big picture. Jesus does not start with his ideas for political or economic progress. He doesn't talk about his vision statement or his long-term goals. He does not organize a hierarchy and delegate tasks. Jesus starts his world-saving work with the basic unit of humanity, the individual person and their quality of spirit. Before he says anything about the mission, the methods, the objectives, or the organization of his discipleship community, Jesus tells us what sort of people he wants us to be. Following Jesus and saving the world both begin with our souls. To be poor in spirit means to stop thinking so highly of yourself. It means to confess that the world does not revolve around you. It means to know your place in creation as one of God's many finite creatures. To mourn means to take a clear-eyed look at reality in all of its beauty and ugliness, and to let reality break your heart. To mourn means to grieve for our wasted potential and the suffering that you see all around you. The first step to healing is to see the depth of the wound. To be meek means to stop trying to be so powerful and important. Meekness doesn't mean weakness, to let people exercise complete control over you. Meekness simply means to stop trying to exercise power and control over others. It means to be yourself and to let others be themselves. Hunger and thirst after righteousness means to know what the common good of all people looks like, and it means to have the burning desire to see that good made real and to be ready to let it start with you. To be merciful means to let go of all judgments and grudges. It means to stop holding the mistakes of others against them and to be good to people whether they deserve it or not. To be pure in heart means to stop grasping at everything that flutters by. It means to learn to be still and simple and true. It means to quietly and self-sacrificially accept the will of God for your life and to respond as truly as you can to whatever that means. To be a peacemaker means to stop taking a side in every two-sided argument. It means to let go of your anger and defensiveness. It means to de-escalate conflicts and to bring opposing sides into new understanding. Jesus knows that people will always want you to join their projects of conquest and control. He knows that people will hate you for taking the low path of humility and meekness and mercy and peace instead of supporting their causes. He knows that you will be tempted to hate those who hate you. But he also knows that if you first take the time to align your soul to his soul, you will pass these tests when they come. Jesus knows that if you stand for truth and goodness at all costs, you will probably lose friends and the cooperation and support of some of the people in your community. But he also teaches that we who follow him are part of a much older and much more expansive spiritual community, a community of all who embody the spirit of peace, love, and humility, and stand with the defiant backbone of independence, courage, and conviction. Even as people look sideways at you with suspicion and misunderstanding, Jesus teaches you to rejoice. Your new people are the prophets and martyrs of ages past who got the first taste of the salvation of the world. And as a disciple of Jesus Christ, you are now one of them too. So think about your soul for a minute. Which of the spiritual qualities that Jesus describes do you find in yourself naturally? Which ones come easy for you? Which ones are the hardest for you to understand or practice? What makes it so difficult? How do you feel about Jesus' invitation to trade your normal community for the old one of prophets and martyrs? For an exercise, repeat Jesus' list of spiritual qualities to yourself, maybe throughout the day. Imagine how your life would look if you embodied them. Ask God, what would have to change for you to follow Jesus spiritually in such a personal, radical way? Spend some time in silence today and listen to God's answer. Pray quietly. Make me into what you want me to be.